Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our second online educational series brought to you by the Kansas and Nebraska Auto Body Associations. My name is Tony Adams, and I am the Vice President of the Kansas Auto Body Association. On behalf of all of our members in this great state of Kansas, we'd like to welcome you, and thanks for participating tonight. We've got a great speaker lined up for tonight, which James will introduce here in just a second. Just want to let everybody know we're going to keep everybody muted tonight, and if you have any questions, please hit the chat box down there at the bottom, and James and myself will be watching that, and we'll ask Gerry any questions as they're coming in and along the way. So with that, I'll turn it over to my buddy James to do your deal.
Hey everybody, like Tony said, James Rodas. I'm with the Nebraska Auto Body Association. I am the Vice President, and I am super excited to have on my buddy Gerry Bonanni. He is the Ford guru. When you guys call me and ask me Ford questions, if I don't have the answer, this is the gentleman that I call or text, and he gets us the right answers. So we're fixing cars correctly in our area. So without further ado, Gerry, this is your show, buddy. Take it away.
No problem. Thank you, James. And it's always a pleasure. James and I go way back. We've worked together on a lot of things over time and been friends for years. The one thing I will tell you is nobody knows it all. You're learning every day. And in this great business of ours, there are really some great stuff to learn. Let me show my screen. I'm actually from the Kansas area. I lived in Wichita for a number of years in the early 90s, and then went out to Pitt State, where I got my 4-year degree at Pittsburgh State, which was quite good. I really enjoyed being there. And let's see, let me go into presentation here. But I do live by one thing. If you say you know it all, it's time to get out. And that's kind of the way that I've looked at things over the years, and forever learning and learning and learning. It's amazing how much comes my way, and stuff that working with engineers and others that you still have to learn. It's kind of like Keith Richards says, you're always learning something about this great industry of ours. So I'm going to go over my friend was with me on a presentation earlier, Rob Leon, who's an expert on the ADAS systems, but I can talk structural repairs. And I want to talk a little bit about the 2021 F-150 and the 2021 Mustang Mach-E. So I'm going to go over a brief vehicle overview with those. Let's see. Sorry, this is. So two great pieces of product, great vehicles. The F-150, really nice changes to the styling and the features. The best never rest. As you look at this truck, it's been a great truck for decades, but this is really one of the best ones yet. Mustang Mach-E, controversial but loaded with tremendous features and all sorts of great stuff and performance too. More I'm learning about it, it's definitely a very, very cool product. So let's start off with F-150. As we look at this vehicle, the toughest, most productive, and most powerful truck in its class. As we say, remaining the best-selling truck in America for 43 years, we don't rest. Our customers don't. And bolder than ever, best-in-class capability, we're looking at the ultimate vehicle for both work and recreation. New exterior styling, new grille, new lighting, a lot of functionality and storage, coupled with the same high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy body and the fully boxed high-strength steel frame. Payload and trailer tow ratings are some of the best in class, and we've got different engine lineups and options available. And some really great features like the innovative interior work surface, the tailgate work surface. There's all sorts of interesting things that are on this new vehicle. And so I just want to kind of go over some of those. Eye chart, if you will, but there's a lot of great things on this. A new active front air dam, a 12-inch digital instrument cluster productivity screen with the 12-inch center stack touchscreen. Adaptive steering helps for steering efforts in different parking maneuvers and driving requirements. Individual trailer tire pressure monitoring system for your trailer. And we can also have a camera the customer can place where they see fit. Adaptive cruise control, stop and go, lane centering, and speed sign recognition. your next level of ADAS systems, essentially. Maximum reclined seats, very, very nice interior that they put together for it. And as you look at everything involved, even in the performance side, such as the new power inverter, depending on the powertrains, we have the Pro Power onboard system. Rock and crawl mode is new, and that's included on the FX4 off-road package. And you're looking at some other neat things like deep snow, sand, and mud rut, selectable drive modes. The new Sync 4 system, which has voice recognition, connected navigation, and Sirius XM. And then the trailer reverse guidance is another neat thing too, and seamless charging pad for smartphones, for compatible smartphones. Another eye chart talks about some of the basics, but you can see what an interior package. Beautiful dash screen, touch screen for all the different navigation and electronic features of the vehicle. I'll go through some of the engines as you see here listed with the 10-speed transmission, but the lineup includes the 3.3 PFDI V6, 2.7 EcoBoost V6, 3.5 EcoBoost V6, then the 3.5 PowerBoost full hybrid. Of course, the 5-liter stays, and you're looking at the 3.0 PowerStroke V6 turbo diesel. Some excellent ranges and options for different capabilities and what you're going to use the truck for. I'm going to go into a little more detail here. Some better shots of the interior for you, showing the plug-in for the laptop, blind spot information system, cross traffic alert, automatic high beams on all F-150 models, post-collision braking, that's another feature. And you're looking at quite a bit in the way of the interior work surfaces. Oh, check this out too. Banks & Olufsen sound system with 18 speakers, including externally coupled subwoofer. That's available on Lariat, King Ranch, and Platinum, and Standard Unlimited. So there's new color changes for the exterior to go along with the new exterior design. It's a different truck in appearance from front to back, but however, architecture, as you work with it, if you're trained on the 2015 on, it is a very similar truck from a structural standpoint. The structure of the unibody cab being full aluminum, the same apron tube assembly, which has really gotten great kudos in the field for damageability repair and insurance ratings that stay very, very reasonable. This truck, as you know, and many of you have probably worked with the aluminum truck, I have many technicians even comment to me that they'd rather work on this truck than many other vehicles. And the 2021 is going to share a lot of those same features. Moving on, of course, fully boxed high-strength steel frame. It's HSLA. We're looking at a high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy body. Trim levels of XL, XLT, Lariat, King Ranch, Platinum, and Limited. And we're going to be working with the same 2 truck assembly plants at Dearborn Truck and the Kansas City assembly plant. Of course, the same conventional layout and architecture of the powertrains, and talking about electronic controlled 4x4 with open differential rear axle or electronic locking rear diff. So moving on to some of the Copilot 360 technologies. I'm not going to read those to you, but you can see from the slide a lot of features in these technology packages and available features that can tack onto those features as well. Distance alert, distance indication, evasive steering assist. So it's a vehicle stability program essentially. I mentioned some of the other things here. I won't repeat them, but a lot of great features in this truck. And we get into daytime running lamps, cargo lamp integrated marker lights as options, LED tailgate, go on and on and on. I won't bore you with the dimensions, but you can get an idea that there's quite a bit of specs in this. So let's go to the Mach-E real quick. New vehicle, new architecture, really a pretty dynamic vehicle. The more I've gotten to know it, it's very interesting. And I'm going to take you through a couple of the key things about the product. The premium, starting at about $50,000, $50,600, and available in late 2020. 19-inch aluminum wheels. It's got the hands-free foot-activated liftgate. panoramic fixed glass roof, heated first row seats, even the steering wheel and memory driver seats, power folding mirrors. Got a lot of nice stuff, plus the high output speaker, 10 speaker sound system. First edition starts at $59.9. That's available late 2020, limited quantity. That goes to 19-inch aluminum wheels. It's a premium feature, plus these other items that you see there: red painted brake calipers, brushed aluminum pedal covers, special first edition scuff plates, and other things that identify the vehicle. Select is the starter one at about $43,000, available early 2021. And that's going to include 18-inch aluminum wheels, next generation sync with enhanced navigation. Phone is a key. I'll make a point of that in just a moment. The 15.5-inch touchscreen will be a separate slide, and I'll go over that as well, and including an LED lighting and sequential rear turn signal package. The California Route 1 edition starts out at about $52,400, available early in 2021, and it's uniquely equipped. We're looking at 18-inch unique wheels, California Route 1 badging, the same fixed glass panoramic roof, and memory driver seats and power folding mirrors. It's also got the 360 camera assist and the active park assist. The GT, the hot one, 20-inch cast aluminum wheels. It's got all-wheel drive, some really neat inserts in the interior to set it off, the 10-speaker B&O sound system, and hands-free foot-activated liftgate. Wait do you see some performance numbers on this thing? It's pretty interesting. So let's talk architecture, because this is new. Where the F-150 you're looking at, if you've been trained on the 2015, you will understand how to work on the 2021. The Mach-E is different. It's a new vehicle, so I'm going to go over it really quick in a little bit of detail here. Your front rails are constructed of DP600 steel. Rear rails are boron, ultra high strength steel. The fender reinforcement tube consists of dual phase DP800 steel, and the apron assembly has DP600 as well in it. Liftgate outer panel as well as other exterior body panels are mild steel or dent resistant steel as well. And the overall body structure constructed of boron, dual phase, and high strength steels. The roof panel reinforcements are DP600, and there's also some HSLA 380 steel as well. Naturally bolted removable front fenders, hinge doors, and hood. And as I mentioned, outside body panels of mild steel with mastic pads on the floor pan. We're just finishing the workshop manual authoring of this vehicle. Very, very straightforward construction. If you've worked with a lot of our newer vehicles, such as the Escape and others, you'll get some good ideas of how the architecture of this vehicle is laid out. But I'm going to give you a little more detail in just a bit. So look at some of the ranges here. With 255 horsepower in the rear-wheel drive standard range, at 306 foot-pounds of torque, you're looking at an overall range that they're estimating about over 230 miles per charge. As we look at the rear-wheel drive extended range, that jumps to 282 horsepower at 306 foot-pounds of torque again, but it jumps to 300 miles for the EPA estimated driving range. All-wheel drive, horsepower drops to 255, but the torque increases to 417. And as you look at it, over 210 miles for the estimated driving range. And the all-wheel drive extended range, horsepower goes to 332 with 417 foot-pounds of torque, and the EPA range is 270. Check out the performance figures down below I added though. Base, all-wheel drive with a range of 278 miles, a 0 to 60 time of 6 seconds. Pretty cool. Get into the GT though, look at this, 260 mile range, 0 to 60 at 3.8 seconds. And GT Performance model drops it down to 3.5 seconds with the same range. It's an exciting vehicle, some pretty neat features in it too. So here's the charge port, and the fast charge 4P at 49 miles in 10 minutes, 3P in 45 minutes within 10 minutes as well. It's got a quicker DC fast charge rate than all Tesla models and Jaguar I-Pace. So I can't talk to too much detail on these, but you can see there's quite a bit of driver assist technology. The Ford Copilot 360 drive with highway assist, that basically looks at a number of things, including the alertness of the driver. Are they drifting lanes? There's numerous things to keep the vehicle within control of the owner's control, but also in their comfort as well. Naturally bliss. Traffic sign recognition is an interesting feature. It reviews signs that are alongside the road, including speed and warnings and etc. Road departure warnings, similar to other systems, but more advanced. And then a new intelligent adaptive cruise control, making it more comfortable and easier for the driver to stay within an even speed when in cruise control mode. There's cross traffic alert with braking, and naturally pre-collision assist, which is for intersection. You can see in the graphic down below. So as it sees a vehicle coming in a cross intersection, as you're seeing here, it offers braking assist to try to slow the vehicle, prevent an accident. The new Sync 4 system with nav is very dynamic, and there's a lot of great features in it as well. Evasive steering assist is basically a vehicle stability system which tries to keep the vehicle into proper control in a highly evasive maneuver as you're avoiding something, as you can see in this example. And naturally, reverse brake assist, it covers a little bit more about when you're backing the vehicle, etc. And of course, front and reverse park aids, which help you as you're moving into a parking spot like parallel park. So an interior camera monitors the driver's awareness based on head pose, and this is located just above the touch screen. So you can see here, this is hands-on mode here in active drive assist. The hands are on the steering wheel in this graphic as an example. As the vehicle is going down an area, which is a conventional highway, this is the hands-on mode, but it does take into account that interior camera, which looks at the customer and determines if they're nodding or if they appear to be dozing or tired. And then after achieving that, if it realizes the customer is going in with proper attention, that they're not showing signs of fatigue, then they get into active drive assist and hands-off mode. I can't really explain too much more about this. I'm not the expert in this, and again, you're always learning. But if there's questions about this, I do have an expert, my friend who was on the presentation earlier with me, Rob. I can run questions about this by him if you have any. And some of the new things, such as the new embedded modem, enhanced memory. One of the things that comes up with the enhanced memory is there's a really neat way. It's got the owner guide, not only in printed form, in written form, but also in video form as well. Phone as a key, I'll show you that in just a second with a second slide here. And over-the-air updates, they come within a couple minutes as an update to the vehicle's architecture, software, et cetera, needs to be done. It comes over the air, so you don't have to go into the dealership to have it updated. So here's some exterior things. Of course, the sequential rear turn signals, just like the Mustang's usual feature for a number of years now. Open sesame, hands-free trunk. You put your foot underneath the rear of the car and the trunk opens. The welcome detection with the approach detection with welcome mat. We're familiar with this on some of the Lincolns and other vehicles where you see the vehicle shape or the logo for the vehicle. And LED headlamps and tail lamps, along with a waterproof drainable frunk. We call it the frunk, which is the front trunk area of the vehicle. And of course, heated exterior mirrors. But E-latch with push button, there's no outside door handles that you can see, and I'll explain that feature in just a moment. So take a look at the screen. You can tailor the driver experience inside the vehicle. Engage as a balanced, fun to drive and productive with interior in-vehicle sounds to enhance your driving experience. Or if you want it quiet, there's ways you can keep the sounds deactivated. Unbridled, if you're talking about a GT version, you can hear the drive sounds and acceleration sounds and increase throttle responses. So you can change not only the appearance inside the vehicle, the lighting, the moods, the sound of the vehicle, but you can also change the characteristics of it as well. Here's the center screen. So if you're looking at the center stack display, which is 15.5 inches, it's quite big. Frequently used features go on the bottom of the touch screen, and you can see those located right here where it says Christina's phone. You can see where the commonly used symbols are, much like you're doing on your laptop perhaps. When you're looking at the new digital assistant dash card system, it's interactive functionality and personalization to the Mustang infotainment and entertainment system. So it's a little easier to play with. There's less that you have to really dwell on something to understand what it's going to do. So frequently used features, example navigation, EV range status, phone, streaming music, and others can be available at one touch. So if you like multitasking, it's a utopia for multitaskers. And you can enter multiple user profiles so someone else can tailor the car to their personalized settings. And as I mentioned, the owner guide will reside on the display now with video snippets on how to use the vehicle. Pretty neat stuff. Here's the front trunk or frunk, and it provides a wet and dry storage, but also you can drain it out if you happen to get it dirty. About 4.8 cubic feet of cargo volume back in the front there. So your phone is a key, interesting feature. As you approach the vehicle, your Bluetooth device will allow the vehicle to automatically unlock, and it also features walkaway locking, which is the first we've ever had on a Ford or Lincoln vehicle. If a customer unlocks a vehicle door and then returns to their home for any reason, it'll lock again in about 3 seconds. So it's using your phone rather than a physical key. Again, a new one for Ford and Lincoln as well. With e-latch, you don't have door handles on the outside of the vehicle, maintaining the vehicle's lines. You press a button on the vehicle's pillar and the door pops open about 1.5 inches. And then there's a small handle above the belt line to pull the door open from there. A light on the door applique indicates whether it is locked red or unlocked green. So it gives it a real smooth appearance and naturally something you'll need to be aware of as you service it. So getting into some servicing discussions, we've got notches cut out in the underbody aero shield for hoisting and jacking. And any obturation except for HV battery removal, we use these locations. You can see the arrows. If you notice the arrows on the inner rocker here, that's the area where you're looking at the positioning of the jack of the hoist arms. So I'll cut to the chase here. You can see the essential service tools, which are spacers, go to the rocker panel. Then the hoist pad goes over and allows you to hoist the vehicle with a clear path for the battery to come down. Naturally, this is the battery on this vehicle. So if you're removing it, first of all, for any procedure involving the high voltage battery, you're going to use these tools with a 2-post lift, and that gives you the clearance to remove the fasteners on the perimeter that bracket the battery into the vehicle. And that's it. That's pretty much what I had. Are there any questions or comments? Any questions I can offer? Now, one thing I would also tell you is that we're working on any Ford vehicle is not off topic here. So if you do have a question for me, just let me know.
Gerry, we do a whole lot of your aluminum vehicles here. Could you give us any insight onto the aluminum side of the repairs? I know, like using your guys' SPRs, your guys' blind rivets. There's a lot of companies coming out right now saying that they have those, and you know, you can use those on those repair. And I know how you guys feel about it. Can you share some of that?
We put out a position statement recently that I drafted, and it was blessed by our legal, our safety, and our engineering teams. Anyone who comes to you saying that they have a rivet that is acceptable on a Ford vehicle, if it does not say Ford Motor Company or Henrob, and it does not follow the coding that's on the rivets, the particular 2-letter code, like code AS, code BT, etc. If anyone comes to you with a rivet, consider that a counterfeit, we've seen varying degrees of quality, some that are even not even, our original rivets are actually boron steel that are specially coated. To go into the aluminum vehicle, they're self-piercing rivets. The part that really gets me very, very fired up is I've talked with some of these vendors and said, please stop holding and carrying these particular products. They refuse to. So I decided to put out a position statement saying that if you choose to use these rivets, first of all, let's say it this way. Would you ever do a cold spot weld? Would you ever do a cold MIG plug weld or MIG seam weld? Would you purposely do one where you weren't getting proper penetration and strength? All of us in this room would say never. Do not use the counterfeit rivets. If it is not in a Henrob package or a Ford Motor Company package, do not use that rivet on a Ford vehicle. Even when you're getting into the click rivets, the pop rivets or hemlocks, you must use the Ford rivets because they are specified for the repairs. They have been blessed by the engineering team as well as the crash safety team. And these people work very, very hard to make that vehicle safe. The last thing you want to do is compromise that hard work and the integrity of your customer's vehicle in a subsequent collision. That's it. That fires me up. Sorry.
No, I completely get it. And how important is it to disconnect the battery, and how long does it take to get the cover off?
Are you
He must be
talking
talking about the new Mustang, I'm guessing.
on the Mach-E? I don't think that there's been any time studies that I know of yet. I don't get involved in that end of it. My end strictly is looking at it from a collision repair and how accessible is the vehicle during the repair, like as you see on the screen there. There's going to be times that I'm sure are published for that. It's not bad. It's a pretty straightforward operation like other EVs. But I can tell you, I mean, a lot of thought has been given towards the serviceability of the HVP, as you can see here in this design of this slide.
So I did have a question from a tech. When you're doing the aluminum repairs and you're putting in self-piercing rivets, sometimes it calls out for different mandrels.
Yes.
What were to happen if you would not swap that mandrel out? Have you guys studied that at all?
Yes, we have, and the results could be catastrophic. What happens is the self-piercing rivet goes in with a science that mandrel has been specified. So if you're looking at the stack of one or two, or if you're looking at two or three materials, let's say, the mandrel has to be specified according to the heat treatment, the thickness, everything in regards to that part, the parts that it's holding, whether there's glue in the joint or not. If you choose not to use the proper mandrel, you may set the rivet too deep, in which you're cracking the parent metal. If you set it too shallow, you're creating a weak joint. So it's a very, very important thing. When you see the overall vehicle diagram and it says use this rivet driven by that mandrel, follow your training. Above all, follow your conscience and do exactly what we tell you there.
Very good. I will give kudos on the new update on the box side repair. That looks amazing. Looks so much better. We've had this discussion, but this is a good point for everybody to know that you need to pull your procedures every time, because we do. And I
Are you
called
ready
Gerry.
for a party, James?
Yeah, I am. That's it's been a lot of topic for discussion, but you got to pull it every time, because it almost got us. And I went to a new shop and they're like, nope, that's not how you do it. And I go, no, it is. And he goes, here's the procedure. And I called Gerry and he goes, nope, we just changed it.
Well, it's funny. This week, I'm actually going in a video shoot. We've got replacement box sides. We've got two of them, and we're going to be doing a video shoot at my building. Even in this COVID world, we've got a very in-depth, nice video coming out to go along with our crashparts.com site. And in that video, we're going to talk about the different options you have for the repair and probably the best methods when you're doing the repair of the box side. I try to think as a technician first. I try to listen to people and friends like you, James, and many, many others in the field. And there's a lot of people who have many, many good ideas, and we try to learn from them. Not against listening to somebody and trying to determine a better way of doing it. The engineer who helped me on the box side, Will Heckman, is a close friend of mine. He's a pretty cool guy. He's got a Cobra kit car that's got a 550 horse small block in it. It's a Stroker 408, and we went for a ride one morning. Well, anyway, I'm digressing, but put it this way, he's a true car guy. And I said to him, I said, Will, I said, we're getting killed in the field. Can you do a rivet specification for those areas? And he went through a lot of work. He had to take it in front of a committee that looks at each joint, and they determine with the metallurgists as well as the riveting and fastening experts that gave us the approval to do that for service. So his name is Will Heckman. If he ever comes to a trade show, you can talk with him and thank him, but this is my way of thanking him.
Well, very cool. I know we get told, or I hear tech saying, well, I'm not going to do the procedure like that because I think this is a better repair. I know you guys do lots of testing, so you guys will probably disagree with that remark, will you not?
All I got to say is anyone who takes that school of thought, even if they're an industry expert, and there's a couple of them out there that like to heckle me sometimes, and I do like to ask them one question. Well, several questions. Number one, do you have a crash safety group? Are you crashing vehicles after looking at different parameters of the repair, not the repair, but how the vehicle crashes? Test modes that are required not only by the government, by Ford requirements. Do you have an engineering group? So a good friend of mine, Doug Craig, who was with Chrysler in my position, he's with Fuser now. He made a very, very good statement at a trade show one time. I think you were with me, James. We were hanging out at one of the SEMAs, and Doug said, do you want to make your customer a crash safety test dummy? I don't think so. We have very, very strong people that their life depends on doing the right thing. They are working with this truck and all of our vehicles to make them as safe as possible. They are the ones who bless the repairs that we put out. To go ahead and re-engineer it and think you know better, hey, hats off to you. But I got to tell you, let's say that guy gets on YouTube and he acts like he knows everything. He goes through and he does a repair and he broadcasts it. God forbid, say someone gets hurt. Well, he's in big trouble. Well, so-and-so on the air told me to go ahead and do it this way. And before you know it, you could have a very, very serious liability concern, loss of your business, loss of everything. So my recommendation is to stay with the experts. And again, I'm not the expert. I'm learning all the time from these talented engineers.
Jerry, we had a question come in. So if a vehicle owner puts on other size, rims and tires on their vehicle, would it have any bearing on camera readings? And if so, can those cameras be adjusted?
The ADAS systems are very specific. There is a certain amount of leeway that can be given. I believe the owner guide is really your best bet. The position of the company is aftermarket accessories, larger wheels and tires, wider wheels and tires, larger diameter, can create system issues with the ADAS systems and vehicle stability system. So I would be very cautious. Some of the lifting kits are particularly disturbing. I looked at one kit that actually cut the lower control arm bracket, removed the bracket off the frame, and it chopped it. So you can't really bring that truck back to factory condition afterwards. But if you're looking at any modification, raising the vehicle, lowering the vehicle, larger wheels and tires, smaller wheels and tires, if you choose to go that way, that can create serious issues with the ADAS systems and other vehicle stability things. And even when you're looking at stickers and wraps, sometimes can create issues if they're over a sensor or radar area. So you know, the time has come where things are very sensitive to any modifications, and you have to be careful with that.
So can you adjust any of those camera settings if you do any of that, or is it all just factory programmed?
I believe factory programmed. I'm not the expert there, and if he has further questions, have him feel free to send me an email, and I could forward it on to Rob, who is my expert on that. Rob Leon, his name is.
Thank you.
You're
In
welcome.
the Ford repair procedures, sometimes can be a little confusing. Ford has suggested sectioning procedures maybe for an outer cab corner on a vehicle, or follow the 50 millimeter, I think it is, rule, if I'm trying to remember that off the top of my head. Can you maybe explain that a little bit for our audience when we're looking at, you know, sectioning in a aluminum cab corner on a Ford truck or something like that?
Ford's position is you may section exterior skin according to typical industry guidelines. So if you're looking at that 50 millimeter, you're talking a butt joint with a backer, a 50 millimeter backer. Stay 50 millimeters away from any hinge or striker location. And as you're doing the joint, follow industry guidelines for the backer and how you weld it. Number two, you are in the best position to make that judgment. When you're looking at that vehicle, your experience as a technician on exterior skin now is what we look to you to make that judgment call on the best way to repair that vehicle in the least invasive manner possible. Now, when it comes to sectioning interior areas, structural parts, define that as B pillars, A pillars, C pillars, apron tubes, frame rails, rockers, rocker reinforcements, etc. Do not deviate in any way, shape, or form from the Ford specification and procedure. An industry expert, who you may know, came out and said you could section our extruded F-150 rocker panel reinforcement. I stopped him midstream and said, do not tell anyone that procedure may be done. He argued with me. Thought he knew better. My crash safety guy was with me. My crash safety guy looked at him and says, I guess you don't really care about crash performance in the customer's life after repairing a vehicle, do you? And that's some pretty bold statement, but that's a guy who's been with crash safety since 1969 at Ford Motor Company. And I take that very, very seriously. I think the thing that you're looking at is that you want to make sure you follow what the engineers have said on how to section something, especially if it's structural. If it's skin, we look to your judgment. So that's the drawing line in the sand. If it's exterior skin, you may section it according to your repair plan, the damage to the vehicle in the least invasive manner possible. If you're looking at the interior items, if we dictate a sectioning procedure, you need to do it that way. And if it can't be sectioned, don't listen to anyone in the industry. Follow exactly what Ford Motor Company says.
Excellent, thank you.
And
I think this went back to the, oh, sorry, James, go ahead.
no, and if you need help with that, with, you know, interpreting what something says, shoot me an email. We'll get it to Gerry. He'll be able to explain it crystal clear. So we make sure that, you know, anybody in our associations is able to fix cars correctly the way that Ford wants them done.
Funny story for you. The guy I was talking about is a good friend of mine, Dick Knowles. And I first met him with the crash safety group back in like 2007. And he told me about his career at Ford. Guess what his first job was? His first job was on the Boss 429 Mustang program. And guess what his first time at the barrier was? He crash tested a 69 Mustang Boss 429, crashed it right into the wall. And that still lives with him. He says, I can still hear that car hitting the wall. But you think about it now, that's a $250,000, $300,000 muscle car. And Dick was saying, yeah, it was just every day. But it's so funny when I tell people that story, because it talks about the level of experience, but it also talks about the tenacity of them and how they do not listen to any other type of alternatives. If it's customer safety at question, if it could impact airbag timing, if it could impact roof crush, side hit, you name it. These guys are very, very serious people to play with, and they don't mess around. They tell you yes or no, here's why, and they pull out the data. So.
Gerry, you had talked earlier about the FordCrashParts.com,
Yes.
about the videos you guys are putting up.
Yes.
Awesome job. Awesome,
Thank you.
awesome,
Thank you.
awesome.
And send more people to them. I mean, the more people see them, the more we can do with them. So
No,
here's another one. Here's something I want to ask everybody too. When you're repairing our vehicles, we have availability of many, many frame sections. On the F-150 alone, we have tremendous numbers of frame service kits, long sections, short front sections, long front section, long rear section. We have tons of bracketry available. There are so many different ways you can repair a frame for the Ford F-Series trucks, for all the other vehicles we have, Ranger especially. Ranger has the best in class for working on frame sectioning and procedures and partial sectioning and bracketry and things. But I'm going to tell you something very seriously. You guys are in truck country. And if we don't sell these parts, if we don't use them, we have the potential of not being able to offer them. So when you're looking at a truck that's gone into a ditch and you think you can repair it, and you try to look up what service frame sections and bracketry kits we have and buy those instead of putting a full frame. There's many, many ways you can save time and labor by doing a section. And when you look at the options, it's good labor, it's a great repair, and it's been blessed by Ford and crash safety as well. So I just want to say that. I know it's getting on my soapbox, but if we don't sell these kits, we're not going to be able to keep offering them. Now,
Yeah.
as frames get more complex with higher strength steels, there's going to be less of these kits available. So by all means, if you're looking at things that to improve the repair of your vehicle, of our vehicles, have the option of repairing a vehicle versus totaling it, that's what we've put these kits out for, is to give you options. Sorry, commercial by Gerry Bonanni.
No, actually, I just saw that video the other day. You and Steve had sent me that website, and
Yes.
if anybody listening, watching hasn't seen that website yet, go there. We actually, I'm pretty sure that transit repair is because of us, which is pretty cool.
Yes, it is, James. It is actually, because there's a lot of questions about that. That's why we did it.
Yeah,
The
and
door skin too. The door skin too.
yeah, so I think it's awesome. So if if you guys have questions, shoot them up to Gerry, get them to me. We'll get them up to Gerry, and you might see some of your dumb questions show up in a video, which is great because we're helping the industry. So
There's no such thing as a dumb question, especially when you're trying to learn.
Oh, I think you've known me long enough. There's lots of those that come my way. But I think Tony has another question for you.
Sure,
Yeah,
Tony.
back to the rivets. Will Ford be rewording the position statement on the rivets?
Oh, it's pretty strong now. Legal was like, wow, that's pretty heavy duty what we put out there. I'd have to say it's a 50 caliber machine gun in a P-51 Mustang. I loaded some pretty heavy bullets into that. The thing I'll tell you is that we make a pretty clear line in the sand against these counterfeit rivets. And if you have a problem with an insurance company, I'd like to know who it is. Send me an email, send it through James. And we got friends at insurance companies we talk to all the time. So if someone's complaining that they have to use aftermarket rivets, an insurance company saying they must use them, they're putting a gun on my head, pull out the statement. And if they still have a problem with that, then we wouldn't mind knowing who that person is, because they're wrong. But no, I think to answer your question, Tony, if you look at the language of the position statement, it is very, very strong. There is a line drawn in the sand, and it's black or white, and exactly as this issue should be.
Thank you. Another question. Well, I don't know. It's a question or more of a statement, but it says, "Let's talk about the door skins," and I'm assuming that's the door skins
On
uh,
aluminum.
on aluminum. So if that's not, he can chat in another question, but we'll go with aluminum door skins.
I've talked to a lot of people about this. The thing that you have to do with the aluminum skin as you're doing a skin, the one thing that the most common feedback I've been given by very talented people I've talked with, met at shows, visited with, worked with, they have my number, I talk to them, is to take your time. The problem I see is that there's a lot of people who go hot rod. They go really fast thinking they're skinning a steel door, and they don't use all the tools available. Like Steck has the door closer. John at Steck is a good guy, and he's got some great tools. But I know his closing tool works very, very nice. We have one available through Rotunda as well. But the biggest thing I hear is they go crazy. They try to close it too fast. They try to bang it over in just one hit, and you can't do that. You got to work it slowly. There was a little bit of an embarrassment, though. I found that sometimes that the skins, the price of doing the skin was almost as much as doing a door. And we looked at our pricing on that. That's been corrected. That was a comment that came up at SEMA 2 years ago, and I brought that up to the pricing people, and they changed it. But a skin is a viable and a very, very good option for both steel and aluminum doors. And it adds labor to your shop too. So I met a guy at Ann Arbor Collision, a young kid, 25, and I can say that because I'm 52 now. But he goes, I skin 3 to 4 doors a week. And I said, do you ever crack them? He goes, hell no. I hem them over, take my time. I use the Steck tool as an example. He showed me it. He says, you could watch me do one. When I do one, I'll call you and you could come in. And, you hear that from technicians, young technicians especially. That's telling me it's pretty viable. It's still your call. If you want to put a door on it, put a door on it. But the skin is there for the person who wants to do them, who understands them, and is willing to take their time. But like anything, it does take time. It takes a little more time than a steel one. So I hope I answered your question. I'm not sure if I did, but.
No, I think you did great. We're getting a lot of questions about ADAS. So
Oh boy.
anybody that wants ADAS answers, email me. We'll get
Yeah.
them to Jerry. We'll get them up to the right people, and we can get the answers from the professionals in that section of it. Jerry is the collision guy, the body structure guy. So let's try to keep it to questions that Jerry feels comfortable with his expertise in.
I will tell you this, the ADAS questions are valuable to me because I'm trying to develop a strategy with the service of ADAS systems. I think that in our world, and I'll say this to all of you as friends over a beer here, as you're talking about ADAS, there's a lot of questions and a lot of situations we see that the guys that develop the procedures for warranty repair that they don't see necessarily. For instance, pinched wiring from an accident. For instance, camera alignments and other things. And I'm no expert on it. I can talk all day about steel, structure, aluminum, whatever you want. But I've got people that I can talk to, and that's the value of it. So bring up some of your questions. But the one thing I will tell you is make sure you research the repair. Everyone's heard me say that a million times. But make sure you research the repair, especially with ADAS and electronic feature groups, because the procedure might be sitting there right underneath your nose. There may be something that says do it this way, and I can't guarantee that. But before you send a question up, make sure you look in, not in all data, but in a Ford Motor Company workshop manual procedure for that component, please.
Well, I know Aaron, he is from my shop up in Blair. He says, I do know that with lane keep assist specifically, there is an option while calibrating to input the fender to ground height. So that it tells it if it's been raised or lowers or has larger or smaller wheels or tires.
Sure.
So again, you know, if you have any other questions, let's email me, james.rodis, R-O-D-I-S, @woodhouse.com, and we'll get them up to Gerry, and we can get them answered and sent out to whoever would like the answers on it. But I think this has been awesome. Does anybody else have any more questions?
One thing on ADAS too, when you look at the Ford procedure, you know for a fact it's the most updated and current procedure that we have. Remember that we are working on these things for warranty repairs if a customer has a problem. So that's why I stress, be sure you're looking at a Ford manual, not at an all data version of it. Look at the Ford manual, get the subscription, use whatever they say, follow the procedures. But if you see something wrong with a procedure or a question about it, then those are the things that we can go forward to the experts with, and we have really, really good data to talk about. The one thing I cannot help you on is if you haven't opened a manual and you send me a question and basically you haven't even started at pinpoint step 1. I can't help you on that. You have to do that. Just like repairing anything on a vehicle, you have to make sure you're following that book.
And I will say that Ford is very good about changing the manual. We've called Gerry a couple times and said, hey, this isn't making sense here. And, you know, we've caught a couple things that weren't worded correctly, or were just, you know, maybe a little backwards on that one. And he gets them fixed pretty short order. So the next people aren't having to deal with it.
Thank you, James. Yep, thank you.
Tony, you have a question, I believe.
Yep, Gerry, on inspections after a collision, specifically SRS control module mounting locations and seatbelt inspections, is there any guidance from Ford on what the definition of a collision is,
Right.
and or when we should or should not do those specific inspections?
This is a very, very interesting area, and one that I have found to be a little bit ambiguous at best. Adam, Gerry and I were looking, when Adam was in the position, we were looking at like inspection of a steering column. And some of the language in the book was very, very vague. We're like, wow. So we were talking with some engineering teams about it. And I know that there's an effort going on that I'm not part of, but I will tell you that we are looking at improving the book in these areas. They're totally outside of my area. I have no sign off or even review of them. But when you're looking at how to analyze a seatbelt assembly, a steering column, analyzing wiring, the condition of supplemental restraint systems, the condition of other systems, steering column, and all that, like I mentioned, there needs to be some better language, and we are bringing that up to the right people. I will tell you that there's a lot of effort being made at that. And all I can say is it's something that my friends and counterparts are working on. That's probably not the best answer for you, but I will tell you that if you have things like that where you see ambiguity, and I do see some examples from the field, James, you've sent me one or two actually, and we've got the right people working on it. Timing, I can't give you that. I know that they're in the middle of it, but I'm not sure where the status of that is.
So Gerry, I know you guys have the Ford Collision Repair Network now.
Yes.
Is there any talk or interest from Ford's side to limit parts, structure parts to those repair shops? I think a lot of us.
No, we never will. We never will, because I'll tell you why. The idea of the F-150 is that vehicle is sold everywhere. It's sold in Pittsburgh, Kansas. It's sold in Pratt, Kansas, or sold in Wayne, New Jersey, or anywhere you can imagine. And what we did not want to do was turn it into a Jaguar with a bed. And by limiting parts, we found even premium brands, we found situations where you could buy any number of different premium OEM parts for the right amount of money. So those manufacturers do limit the parts, they limit the sales of them to certified shops, but it was found that you could buy them in other ways. So the F-150, we tried to make it as easy to repair as we humanly possibly could. We tried to give every repair option that we possibly could. Are there bad wrenches? There's bad wrenches everywhere, in every brand, in every city, everywhere. Those are the people that are eventually going to get caught, though. And eventually something's going to backfire on them, and rightfully so. Now, we all make mistakes, but if somebody continually makes mistakes, they deserve to be in trouble. Limiting parts, though, would hurt the truck, hurt Ford, hurt the customer more than you can imagine. So no, there is no appetite to look at that. And I think to talk about it, the vehicle has really been, there's a lot of them that have been repaired very, very well. Vehicles that have gone through events, been repaired and gone through a subsequent event. And we tried in the training, you know, we don't have the luxury to send a technician to 2 weeks of training. We can't do that. So there's often been discussions about the aluminum iCar course and some of the Ford training. We're looking at a simple vehicle. Instead of a spot weld, you're separating a rivet, period. I mean, it's not like we're looking at a casting. There's no castings in the F-150. There's no complex extrusions except for that one rocker reinforcement. So the idea to limit things would drastically hurt the truck and the overall mission of what we tried to do to mainstream aluminum. That's just my personal side, but also the opinion that I've held with other managers and others within Ford. And the insurance companies have applauded that. The certified network, if you're a good shop and you want to get onto a great certified network, talk to Dean Bruce. That's a great program. And it's well worth your time and effort. If you're not on it now, I would consider getting on it as soon as you can.
Great response, buddy. I think Tony has another question.
Yeah, we had a question come in, and I'll throw you a lifeline here, Gerry, and I'll kind of answer as much of it from my opinion, and I'll let you fill in the blanks as well.
Okay.
It was more of a statement. So in regards to like using all data, right? And if we use all data, you know, is that just a lost cause, and should we not use it? So I'll give you, you know, my opinion. I don't think anything replaces the OEM repair.
It doesn't.
I think all data is a wonderful tool from an estimating perspective, especially if you're a shop that fixes multiple makes and models of vehicles. From a searchability perspective and things like that, to be able to find information, it certainly is easier for my shop. But I think it's also important to know that it is a third party, whether it's CCC
Yes.
repair methods, all data, Mitchell repair procedures, it doesn't matter. They all go out and get their updates from the OE manual. So depending on how often they go and do that, Ford, I know specifically, Gerry, you can probably correct me on the count, but I know that there were several times within the course of 12 months that the aluminum bedside procedure had changed. So if you're using all data and that procedure had not been updated on specifically how to install that weld on or rivet on or glue on part, you could be in a situation where you are repairing that vehicle not according to the most up-to-date information that not just Ford, but that the OE manufacturer is looking for. So know that going in. And you know, when you get to the point where it's time to section and weld it and things, you most certainly should be going and purchasing OEM software and getting the most up-to-date information. That's why I say it's great from an estimating perspective, but not necessarily from a repair the vehicle according to the OE perspective. And I'll let you correct me anywhere you feel like I was wrong, Gerry, and fill in any blanks I might have missed.
Well, Tony, my middle name's Anthony, so I'm Tony too. So, but the thing I'll tell you is I couldn't have explained it better. You said exactly what I would have said. When you're looking at the other providers other than a Ford manual, that's a snapshot in time. We have found just in cursory review, Adam and I went through a bunch of manuals and we were trying to go into some basics. We found that some of the third-party providers were very, very behind, typically almost as much as 3 to 5 months sometimes. Now, don't quote me on that. That's just something we observed. But the thing I would say is that if you're going to become a Ford certified body shop, you get the subscription to the Ford manuals. So it makes even more sense to look at the certified network. But on the other side, I always use this example. I build engines, I build transmissions, I do a lot of mechanical work in my restoration business. James has called me when I'm at home and he hears a compressor banging away and I'm working just like you guys. But we would never build a motor, any type of engine, without a shop manual open. We have to watch the torque specifications, the stages of torquing, the inspection of the gasket surfaces. We would never do millions of other repairs without a shop manual open. Body has gotten so complex now, it's the same thing. So I look at it as very simple. You know, we build the vehicle, we service the vehicle, we pay warranty on the vehicle, we go through and we want that vehicle repaired correctly the first time, 100% if we can hit it. And when we look at the safety aspects of it, there's really no more argument. So you said it very, very well.
Thank you. We'll give it just a second here. We'll see if any last question pops up here in the next 30 seconds or so. If not, I'll let James wrap it up here in just a second.
I will say I miss being at SEMA this week because I'll tell you it's usually fun to see all my friends and talk with a lot of good people and what they're doing and what they're seeing. But it's funny how the industry has shifted. The big worry was aluminum repair when the truck came out. And I had one body shop down in Texas, and it was when it first came out, and he was walking around the truck. I guess he walked around it for like a week and a half. And he calls me up in a panic. He's like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what to do with it. It needed a cab corner. And I said to him, I said, what would you do if the sucker was steel? And he goes, I would have repaired it a week ago. I said, well, get to work already. And he calls me back 3 days later. He says, oh, that was easy. I said, yeah. I mean, it was the kind of thing that I think people were scared of the unknown. And when you look at ADAS, all these systems coming at us, it's the same type of challenge. Battery electric vehicles, like you see in this shot here, when you're looking at the hoisting and working with the batteries and stuff, it's just something new we have to learn. And the day you say you know it all, get the heck out, because that's the time when you're really going to do some damage if you think you know it all and you think you can re-engineer it. And shame on some of the people in the industry who purport to know everything. They don't know it all. They know that no one can. I've been with Ford 25 years. There is so much I'm learning every day, every day. And the day you say you know it all and you can handle it, no. You got to look at inside and how you're really shortchanging yourself.
Well, I will tell you, one of the shops that I go to now, they are a GM's shop,
Yeah.
but they did their first F-150 Unicide and everything, and at first he was scared to death. It took longer than it should have, but he read every procedure 100%, marked everything out, and afterwards he said, well, that wasn't bad at all. It's very repairable, which is what we need.
I have friends and dealers and body shops throughout the country, some into Europe too. And one of the fellows who's at a local dealer near me here, and he says, come here, I got to show you something. And he had the box side, the box from the body side. And he had a big piece of cardboard and he drew a life-size map of it. and he had all the rivets and all their positions and the mandrels to drive them. And then if any updated, he would check out with each RO so that they would print out the factory workshop manual and the rivet pattern guide. And if he noticed anything being updated, he updated his cardboard template. So as he's rolling along with the glue is applied and he's got to put the body side on, he's got everything right there in front of him. And it was so funny. He goes, he was the one who unsolicited said, I'd rather repair this vehicle than any other vehicle out there. And he is the guru. He makes a lot of money as a tech. Very, very productive. He does a great job. But it's also fun to bounce ideas off of guys like that. And like you too, James, I enjoy talking with you because I learn a ton from you guys. And the thing about it is that I think the motto for bodymen, for technicians by technicians, is kind of what we try to live by. Are we perfect? No, no one is. But the thing I'll tell you is we do try to learn and try to improve as much as we can.
Well, I may ask you for that guy's number so I can see his templates, because that's a pretty good idea.
It's all it is a piece of cardboard, and he's drawn the body side, and he puts the rivets, the rivet type, the mandrel that drives it, and he puts down any of the other options that he might have there. He even put the gluing pattern. I mean, it was hysterical. I'm looking at it like, this is great. In fact, I wanted to add it to a video because, I mean, I said, you know, we should put you on a billboard for this truck. You know, he's a trip. He's a trip. He's a good guy, great guy. Incidentally, he's 30 years old. So he's doing this. I mean, he's a new guy in the industry relatively, you know, and when you see that, you realize that, you know, we've got a great industry ahead of us for these more complex structures. More complex structures are coming. You know, you're going to have increased use of castings, increased use of hybrid structures, structures that have aluminum castings and maybe steel floor pans, or even plastics. There's all sorts of things that are coming, that are being tossed about, ideas engineers have. Reinforcements made out of corrugated plastics, structural reinforcements as an example. So instead of an expensive boron B pillar, you might have a plastic insert on a lesser steel like an HSLA. So we got to be ready for everything, because if we're not, we're going to be in big trouble. And don't forget, we've got autonomous and all sorts of other fun coming up.
Well, I think the questions are done. My friend, I want to thank you. I
No
think
problem.
this has been awesome. I think we got lots of good questions out of this. And I think people kind of understood that we need to go in, we need to look at the procedures. We need to make sure that we're correct. We need to ask questions if we're not sure. And let's make sure that Ford, our customers, and our techs are all safe and repairing cars properly.
You couldn't have said it better, James. And that's, again, if there's anything you guys come across or hear, no question is wrong. I'm happy to talk with anybody. And certainly the only thing I ask is please research it first. Just check it out in the books. Make sure that we don't have a procedure, and we'll go from there.
Well, sir, I thank you. And when COVID is all over, I still want to get up there and check out the operation.
Come on down, or come on up, I should say.
Well, thank you again for your time. We highly thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Gerry.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You got it. Bye now.